Microsoft Excel. I already have my original data all entered, the date, the student's name, and whatever the data value is for that student. I'm going to go ahead and start off and find the mean, median, mode, and so on here. To find the mean, remember to start with finding anything, you want to hit equals to prompt your function command, and average will find the arithmetic mean. So I'm going to double click on that, select all of my data, close my parentheses, and hit enter. So my mean is 4.0. I do want to go to one more decimal place than my data values to be accurate with my rounding. So to format those cells, if they're not already formatted, select all of your cells that you wish to format, right click, format cells, and then a lot of times it's on general as the default, so I want to change it to a specific number. I could change it to 2 decimal places. In this case I want it to 1 decimal place since my original data doesn't have any decimal places. Click OK, and all of these cells will instantly be rounded to 1 decimal place. My median, the command for that is simply median. Double click, select my data, close parenthesis, and hit enter. My mode, if there's just one mode, the single mode command will work. So mode dot single. However, if there's more than one mode, I do want to catch it. So I can use the multiple mode function, but that's an array function. So I want to select multiple cells just in case I have this many modes. Don't click in the box, just type your function. So equals mode dot multiple, select your data. There's one slight difference. You don't want to hit enter, you want to hit Control, Shift, and enter. This is for an array function. Control, Shift, enter. And that will find all of the modes and then give you an NA result if there are no modes. So 4 and 3 are my modes. I'm going to go up here and change this. I have 2 modes and just list this as 4.0, 3.0. And I could adjust the formatting if I want to be particular there. Maybe put a little space in between. Okay, so there are my modes. My maximum data value equals max. And enter. My minimum data value is simply the command, the function min. My range will be equals, and I'm going to select my max, hit subtract, and select my min, and it'll just instantly subtract those 2 cells. You could just simply subtract 10 minus 1, but then if you would change your data, this would automatically just change with your data. My standard deviation, these are samples we're working with, so standard deviation .s will find the sample standard deviation, and there it is. I'm going to go ahead and delete when we found our multiple modes. I don't need that listed there to kind of congest my spreadsheet. Okay, so let's go on to making the frequency distribution. I've typed my column headers here. Some of them didn't quite fit, so you can always adjust the width of a column just by dragging the bar there. If you want to center things, you can, again, to just make things look a little neater. I'll go ahead and tidy that up at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and enter, here really will be my class, or my data value, I guess. We'll just leave it as data to be more generic. My data in some cases would be household size, could be age, and here I'm not going to group these, so we're going to have an ungrouped frequency distribution. I would want to start with the minimum and end with the maximum. So start with 1, and in my case I have to go all the way up to 10. Once I started a pattern, if I select that pattern and get that single cross here, and I could go down to, you can see it counting for me, go down to 10. Center those. This is also what's going to be called my bins, because I'm going to put my data into these bins to calculate the frequency. The frequency function I'm going to use is another array function like the multiple mode function. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these cells and go ahead and type frequency, and that pops up. You want the data array, and then you want the bins or the buckets or the classes that you're going to kind of put these data into. So my data array is my original data, and then separate that with a comma. And then I'm going to start selecting down here so I don't accidentally select my function. And now again, this is an array function, so I need to hit Control, Shift, and Enter. And here is all of my frequencies. I want to make sure that I did catch them all. I didn't miss a maximum value. I didn't go and miss a minimum value. So down at the bottom, I'm going to list some totals. And so I want to sum up, it's simply the sum function or sum command, all of my frequencies. And it is 30. So I have 30 data values, my frequencies total 30. I haven't missed any of them. Let's go ahead and do the relative frequency. The relative frequency is a % of the total. And so equals, in this case, it's going to be my frequency, and it'll always be divided by 30. I want Excel to do this for the next 9 rows. So I'm just going to drag it down, and it calculates all my relative frequencies in one step. These I would like to have displayed as a percentage. So let's go ahead and change the format. Have all of those cells selected. Format cells. I want them to be a percentage, and you can select to how many decimal places. Let's just leave it at 2 decimal places. And now I want the sum of that column as well. I can change the format. I didn't change the format of that cell, but let's go ahead and look at that as a percentage also. So I know I have 100% of all of my data represented again. You may want to put some bars down here so the data doesn't get mixed up with the totals. You can always change the borders so you can have a bottom border here. Now for my cumulative frequency, or my running total, I can start off, it's always just my first frequency. And then I'm going to add to that, so I start with my first frequency, and I add to that the next frequency. And again, I'm using the cells, so I can just have Excel continue that for me without having me to type that in every single time. And so it has the row right above it, plus the next frequency. You use that little plus looking symbol to drag it down. I don't want a total there, I just want the cumulative frequency, which should end in 30, my total number of data values. And that completes your frequency distribution. Make sure you give it a title. If I say, let's say frequency distribution for, and then be specific, whatever your data is. So if it's household size or age or whatever your data is, let it be specific here in your title. I'm going to merge and center this. There you go. Nicely centered. And again, you can put some borders around your table if you want to. Personalize it, add some color if you wish. Alrighty, so now we're ready for our bar graph. I'm going to select my frequencies, so I want to make a bar graph using these frequencies. I'm going to go up to Insert. I want to insert a column graph, a two-dimensional column graph, and it's the first option that's listed there. The graph pops up. So often it covers up something you've already done, so just move it to where you like. You can make it a little bigger if you would like. I'm going to change the format of this graph, so go ahead and left click, right click, that was correct, left click on that. Go to Design at the top under Chart Tools, there's Design. Under Chart Layouts, I'm going to pick the 9th layout. And now you can change the chart title, you can change the axes title. The axes title you could change, if I just left click twice, use my cursor keys and the backspace here, I can change it to frequency. I can move that if I wish. I could make it even bigger if I would like. I think that looks fine. Change your axis title down here for your horizontal axis. Again, left click twice. And whatever your data happens to be. Make sure that your horizontal axis scale is appropriate. Here it is appropriate. If not, go ahead and right click on that. You can see that it's kind of boxed in your scale. And you can select the data, and you can edit your horizontal axis labels if you need to. So if it wasn't the correct labels for my horizontal axis, if I go to Edit, I can find or select my axis label range. In this case, my data is my axis label range, and then I can click OK. Well, it didn't change it because it was 1 through 10, but that's how you would change it if necessary. Okay, I don't have two bar graphs combined or side by side or stacked, so I can just delete that series there. I want to give my chart a title, left click twice on it, and edit. So I could say my bar graph. I don't really need to say bar graph. Let's just do whatever my data happens to be of SRC students. I believe you can also edit something if you just right click and edit text. That'll also allow you to edit the text. But again, left clicking slowly on those twice will also bring up the edit feature. Okay, so our graph is labeled. If you do click on the graph, like I've selected the graph here, it shows you the data that's being used. So the blue bars come from this frequency, and then my axes labels come from my data values. So same thing if you click on any function. If I click on min, you can see what my data selection was. Usually it will highlight it there, just like it did here for the graph. Oops. Okay. Almost finished. Now we want to collect or create another graph. So go into, well, first select your frequency, and then you want to go back to Insert, and now it's up to you. If you want to do a pie graph, if you want to do a line graph, there's other charts, there's donut charts. I typically select a pie for this. I've had students select line and donut graph. I think it's been done. So just select which one you want to do. So let's do the pie graph. Remember, you don't want a three-dimensional pie graph. That misleads your reader. Makes one section look a little bigger than it actually is. So pick your favorite type of pie chart. And again, you can move this to wherever you want it. I'm just going to stick it right here so we can see it in this video. And then you can edit your graph. So if you click on it, you have your chart layouts. You can label percentages here. And you can click on it and play with it. There's your percentages. You can have the percentages and kind of the legend up top. Let's do this one here. The 0 percentages really aren't needed, but that's fine. Let's select our data for this. I think it's actually okay. That's just our family size. So you have all the percentages listed. You have the colors representing the different household sizes. And then you can give the chart a title. You can edit your text. And you can get creative with your title if you wish. Again, if you would need to modify your key or your legend over here, you'd go to Select Data, and you could modify your legend if you needed to. You could edit that, you could remove the series, and so on. Okay, that pretty much sums it up. Remember, there is an Excel template. It's already started for you and posted in Angel.